You want me to just go ahead and just follow the
Yeah,
agenda? Okay.
yeah, just run through how.
Yeah, so I am not the chair, so I have no comments. We'll move right to review of financials. So Megan and Jody, do you want to give us an update?
Yeah, so you have Jim's reports in there, his profit and losses balance sheet, and then you also have our year-to-date budget. So if you've had time to review, I can answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah, Megan, my question was, I don't see anywhere in there where we're reflecting what we received for the drawdown grant and or the 600,000 from the county in loan. And I'm not sure where that would show up. I would have expected to have seen that.
Yes, so we actually just had a conversation about this. I thought about it last night. So when I do my budget, I go by the reconciliation in QuickBooks, and then I match it to Jim's profit and loss report. And so I went through it, and then last night I was thinking, well, I didn't put the 600,000 in there, and that's because Jim puts it in the balance sheet. So so if you go to the balance sheet on the first page, you'll see due from other entities.
Yeah, I see that.
That's where all of those expenses for Richfield Springs went, and that was over $1 million, and now it's down to 279, 872. So it was applied to all that. And then if you go on the back of the balance sheet to the second page, you'll see due to other entities. That's where that $600,000 is. So I will make a line item in our budget, and I'll be sure that I balance it with the balance sheet, but that's why it's not in my budget.
Okay, thank you.
So then moving forward, my year-to-date budget won't match the profit and loss. So because he doesn't have it in the profit.
It's reflected in the community bank checking, 1.5, 1.7.
Yes, yeah. Yes, that is our balance right now.
What's the total reimbursement still owed that we haven't been able to
Well, did you do a third drawdown that you haven't gotten yet?
No.
No. Okay, so we've gotten everything that we've did a drawdown for, which was the 733. And then.
So we still have outstanding from EDA about $1 million.
Okay. I just wonder the 600,000 at this point we're not using it, right? Since we've done those drawdowns. I mean, I understand we still have the million, or are we using the 600,000?
Well, you have to remember during the project life of this grant with EDA, we've had 4 different project managers at EDA. The first one was excellent. I mean, he was a stickler. He was really wanted everything documented, and as far as paperwork and everything. The person that we have now, while he's good natured and I think he means to do his best, he wasn't part of the original grant. So, for example, 3 months ago when I told him we were going to look to amend the budget to increase for the gas line, he said, "What gas line? You're putting in a gas line?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it was part of the approved budget that we submitted to you when the grant was submitted." And so I've got to talk to him now that we have some updates on NYSEG, that NYSEG is looking to move ahead with installing the gas line. They're going to want their money up front. So I'm going to voucher that right to EDA, and hopefully they'll pay it, and we won't need to touch the county's money.
Right. And so we'll kind of have it in the reserve.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess any other questions at this point?
No, I think Andrew, just to build on that, at some point, right, if we're not going to end up using it, we just need to decide what that criteria is to say it's okay, it's now time to pay it back. So obviously waiting for the project to continue, but we don't need to sit on money that's not ours if we, again, 0% interest I get, but at the same time, if we're not going to use it ultimately, once we're done with, again, phase 1, do you want to hold on it for phase 2? And so Jody, that's just a question for you to consider and think through. What would be the terms or conditions for us to say, okay, it's time to pay back that money?
And also remember that, and I really appreciate the county's efforts on giving us that loan. We received the county's money a week before we got reimbursed by EDA.
Right.
So we weren't sure at that time whether we're going to have that 700,000.
We're also working off an estimate from Keystone for what the cost of the gas line is gonna be, and I think Joy's gonna have some information. We may have a better idea, coming very soon. What
Yeah,
is
they said by
that?
the end of the week, so I'm assuming Monday or Tuesday of next week, we'll get a final estimate from NYSEG. And that's what I'll use as the basis to submit our next voucher drawdown with EDA.
And then, hopefully, once that's in, we can close out this. And then we'll actually know what this costs us in the end. Because hopefully Angel can get in there and pave them and be done.
Right.
So do, we obviously don't vote on anything, so are we good to move on from audit and finance?
Yeah, unless you have any new and unfinished besides the budget. Do you have anything? For
Okay.
audit.
So we'll go ahead and, go ahead. What's that, Meg?
Yeah, we'll just close it and we'll move to projects. We don't have Tom, we don't have Blake. Patricia, if you wanna run it, we can, otherwise we can just, no, okay. So we don't have a chair, so we can move past the chair's remarks and we'll go to project trackers. We can talk about Richfield first, since we're already kind of on the subject. Okay. Once you have John.
So with Richfield, Anjo has resumed its excavation and they're starting with their new excavations of new trenches for the sewer lines. And they're installing this week manholes as their priority projects. We did receive a survey from Joanne Darcy Crum. I had to send it back. There's one typo in it that the tax map number is wrong on it. So they sent me a revised one yesterday. I'm waiting for hard copies to be hopefully received today, as well as a Mylar from them. On Monday night, I've got to go to Richfield, town of Richfield, for their planning board meeting to get the subdivision approved. And Ella has a copy of it. She's happy with it. And she did indicate that she's trying to get us a purchase offer to the board ASAP. As everybody knows, we did receive the county loan and the $732,000 from the EDA. We did submit our quarterly financial reports and our quarterly progress reports last week. And we have reached out to NYSEG regarding the gas line. And I did get an email from them indicating that they were prepared to start putting in the gas lines. They still want Angel Construction to do the trenching for them. And that they would like a check before they start the installation. So they're hopefully going to get me a final estimate by Friday or early next week to move along with that project. So actually, we're in pretty good shape in Richfield Springs right now, barring anything unforeseen.
Yeah, so if you voucher for the NYSEG payment TSD, how quickly do you think that gets processed? Or again, is this an opportunity to use to dip into those county funds? Just so we don't hold things up. Again, if NYSEG's ready or we can get them on the docket sooner, I feel like the better off we'll be, but I don't know what your thoughts are.
My thoughts are, as soon as I get the estimate from NYSEG, I'm going to put together a second drawdown request to EDA. And in theory, they said it takes probably about 2 weeks for the second one, once they get the system in place. So we should receive our money fairly quickly on that. And we did that with Angel Construction. We had one bill that we submitted with Angel Construction actually before we paid it, and EDA approved it and paid that bill as part of the first reimbursement. So they can upfront the monies if they decide to.
Okay.
I don't want to spend money unnecessarily.
I mean, to me, it's the end game here. You have a construction company that has other things to do, and they're not gonna just sit up there waiting for the gas line. I mean, they're gonna dig the trenches, and obviously whoever NICEAG hires to put in the gas line. And then Anjo's doing the paving, correct?
Yes.
So that's the last thing that has to be done, and it's gonna be completely dependent on getting that gas line in
That's correct.
in a timely fashion.
I think NICEAG already bid out the materials, so it's not a question of going out to bid, because we've had those conversations with NICEAG, whether they can use MWBE firms.
Yeah.
And they indicated that they've already bid everything out for this year.
Is that an extensive timeline, or is that a relatively short timeline? Once Anjo gets the trenching in, and they get in there and start putting the lines in?
For NICEAG.
Yeah,
Usually it's revenue to them, so usually they move a little faster.
Okay.
That would be my guess. You asked me an open-ended question, but I'll discuss before about more later, but NICEAG is kind of a different animal than what we're used to. Right now, they've been I'm working on 2 projects with them in other parts of the state, and they've come right to the table right away to get stuff done.
great.
And I think I talked to Jody one time about meeting the new economic development guy for them. Like, Joe Sayre, I can get him down here to meet with you.
That would be nice. too.
So he's very good, really is moving stuff around.
Now, he's out of there.
No, he's out of Rochester area.
Oh, okay.
Same as the past guy, Joe Rizzo. But he's been very helpful.
Great.
As far as the only on rail yards, I'm still working with Greg Mattice on finalizing the retrofit overlay. They use a firm, I think out of Texas, to put out their bids. It's called TIPS. They use that for the 27 Market Street demolition. And he gave me a contact person that I should talk to at Essential Construct, and suggested I talk to him about the RFP as well. He firmly believes that the concrete material, it can be pulverized and separated, and that if we can't find a place on site to level off an area, that he can use it on Silas Lane. So he's working with us to have the rubble removed once we get it pulverized.
Do we want to remove it? I mean, ultimately, it still seems like that's up in the air.
That's up in the air right now.
Okay,
Part of the request for proposals, we're gonna ask the various contractors to look at potential sites on the rail yards to level off areas.
okay.
I don't think we have any idea. I know I've walked through there, because of the homeless encampments. There's some areas in it that have significant amounts of concrete. But we don't really know until we get somebody in there how much concrete we're dealing with. Gorick has another place that they deposited pulverized concrete, somewhere within a reasonable driving distance of the parking garage when they tore that down. So we took the first batches of that, and they still had another place. So that may also be a possibility if we have to truck it out of there, but. Is it, so how does this work? And that's the interlocal purchasing system that they're talking about, TIPS.
Yeah.
How does that work with bidding? Since we're subject to bidding, who handles the bidding under those circumstances? I mean, I understand did they handle the bidding?
They handle all the bidding.
Okay, so they handle the bidding for the city on probably the Ford building and the parking.
Yes.
Since Gork did both of those demos. Right,
And it seems like more and more that's the trend. When we did the bidding on the Richfield Springs project. It was done by a third party that Keystone arranged to have done. So they put out all the bid documents, they produced them all, they collaborated them all. And then ultimately Keystone reviewed on our behalf.
I mean, my only thought is that the parking garage and the Ford building, I don't know if we have any local contractors, excavating contractors that could do those jobs, because those are big jobs. I'm wondering about 5 acres. You know, that we don't somehow, through that system, we don't skip over local contractors.
No, we won't.
Okay, that could do the job.
So that did on the rail yards.
I just have one last question. Do we have any idea when Greg's gonna provide the guidelines to go? Because I'm just saying that because my experience in commercial projects is when you have excavators, the farther you get into the season, they, usually by April, they've got their entire season of work lined up. And we're gonna, where are we gonna be when we go out to bid? If people are busy, they may bid, but then they usually bid high because they don't really need the work. That's my question. Do you have any idea?
I told Cheryl yesterday that I will have, with or without Greg's input, I'll have a request for proposals done by the end of May.
Okay.
So within 2 weeks.
I just asked you a question on the rail yards. Do you have any idea how much electricity you're gonna need there?
No.
Here's a couple of issues you should be aware of ahead of time. Number one, in the last rate case for NYSEG, I worked with then Senator Seward with NYSEG in the rate case, and they came in and said, we have power available at their substation right here in Oneonta. And we asked them, how much power do we have we're able to use? And they said, oh, we have 2 megawatts. So 2 megawatts would have been expansions at Hartwick and Oneonta, and they'd be done.
Right.
So you're in a situation where you should look at that. And the other situation is that, and I'm working through this now with Broome County, is the fact that if you need more than 10 megawatts of power, you will need to get ISO approval. And that's the utilities are using, it's a FERC rule that happened at the beginning of 2023 that changed how all that, I mean, utilities are happy to say, oh yeah, we can do this for you, but if you go up to over 9.9 megawatts, you're gonna have to go get approval from the ISO. And ISO, they would need to put the projects in a queue before and then they decide on the merits of them. And Broome County's in the process of putting in a new industrial park. And we're working with them now to get the approval for initial, 250 megawatts. So we're going through that process now. And
That's up at the airport.
what's that? Yes.
Can you explain to everybody the acronym ISO?
Oh, I'm sorry. The Independent System Operator for New York.
Tim knows this, but I'm not sure everybody else does.
Yeah.
It's Insurance Standard Organization to me.
Yeah, it's the old New York Power Pool. It's now the New York Independent System Operator. It's considered a nonprofit organization, but they control how the power is used and sent, transmitted throughout the state on a second by minute basis, minute by seconds throughout the day, every day. And they plan ahead for the power and stuff like that. Ironically enough, the guy that's heading, I say ironically because we're in Oneonta, but the guy that's heading the committee now is a SUNY grad. And as am I, so we know each other pretty well. And he's been able to use the term, the municipal, we're the first municipal, meaning Broome, to come in and ask for this. So we had to do a study for the property first with an engineering company. That's been approved, and now the next step is to work on getting the approvals by the ISO for that site and how much they would be able to put in.
Can you introduce?
Yeah.
Oh, this is John Hammond.
Yeah.
He's, what's the career? Energies,
Capital Energy Partners.
Energies. He worked with us as a consultant on getting NYSEG's line extension through the Public Service Commission. Both he and his.
For Richfield Springs you're talking about.
Yeah, for Richfield Springs. Both he and his partner, who's related to you.
Yeah, myself, yeah.
His,
That's a pretty close
everybody
relationship.
at the Public Service Commission and the heads of NYSEG. So he was instrumental in helping us get it through. It's one of the few natural gas extensions that occurred in New York State so far this year.
That's right.
And what's the new group that has to review it starting in 2025?
We were the first project that had to review that, it was part of the legislation that the governor wanted on the climate, I don't know, I can't remember the name, but.
An act.
Climate Act, yeah.
The short
And,
version.
And really, what held up getting the approval process was that we were the first project in that queue for them to the agencies hadn't even put their representatives into the mix to have those discussions. But the PSC people were very helpful, the staff people, to get a lot of this done on our behalf.
Yes.
I don't think that would have happened without their push with these other agencies.
And I think your son used to work for the PSC?
He used to work for the PSC and
He
NYSERDA.
knows all the staff there as well.
Yeah,
What's your recommendation, since we're sitting on the rail yards, and obviously, we really don't know what type of business or is gonna go in there. What's your suggestion? Because we could be in a real big crunch time if we have somebody who's really interested. In the meantime,
that's right.
we can't get them electricity.
And we're facing the same issue right now. We've asked the utility, the NYSEG been up front. They say, if you have somebody come in, as you're developing this, we'll be able to give you X amount of megawatts. And I think the first request we should do is go to the utility, find out what they can do. So you're not left out in the cold as you try to prospect for customers and for this site.
I'll send you, I did get an update from NYSEG about a year and a half ago as to what it would cost to upgrade that plant to a higher voltage.
Okay, to their substation?
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is that I would put this in the back of our heads going forward, is that NYSEG is gonna go in for another rate case. Probably they'll have to file, because they like to do like National Grid, have everything approved by May, so that means they should be putting in something soon. Because it's an 11-month process now. And what I'm gonna say with that is that we should make the request to go put it in the rate case. So that, it'll be a ratepayers would be paying for that, but part of it, but I don't see why you shouldn't do that. All they can say is no. And, that's the one way to go about it, but it also gives people the idea that you're doing something. It upgrades that. And, I think getting Joe Sayre here to talk about that will be very important.
Okay, if you can arrange that, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
So, John,
Isn't
Go
it true that if we located someone that created enough jobs, we would be able to apply for recharge power in addition to whatever NYSEG could provide to us directly, and to provide for upgrades to the substation? Or is that program no longer active?
Well, recharge is still available. It's still available, but the thing is they have to be able to get it to the site.
Right.
That's the issue about upgrading the substations and all that.
Yep.
But the Power Authority still has that program. It's still in existence. I will say that, in NYSEG, unless you have a high load factor customer, it may not be as, profitable or savings wise as in other utility areas. But all that in NYSEG territory, it's up in the air. Even in National Grid in zones 1, 2, and 3, that's the ISO zones from Buffalo to Syracuse. A lot of National Grid customers that had recharge in those areas have given it back because they don't see the savings that they had initially. And I think it was foolhardy on their part because you never know what's going to happen in the electric bill. You do not know.
So to piggyback on that, if we get the ball rolling, is there any way of knowing what that timeline would be of getting an upgraded capacity?
Maybe, and I think if I can get Joe here to talk to you guys about that, and he likes the idea. He was behind Fairlife going into Batavia, and that was his big project at NYSEG, and now he was able to replace Joe Rizzo based on that. So he has a really good idea about what he wants for economic development. He will say to you that he said, I want as many new businesses as I can in the NYSEG service territory.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and he'll work with us. I mean, I don't even know. He's introduced. I think will have staff members of his in areas of NYSEG. Will be economic development people, which I don't think they had before. It was more of a community relations
Yeah,
type.
there's a meeting tomorrow with one of these companies, Eco Yoda, that they're meeting downstairs in the chamber, and I have one of their economic developers coming from Binghamton to that meeting.
Is a woman?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's new. She's new to that, to NYSEG for that position. I met her. So she has background in the economic development field.
But if you can get this gentleman from Rochester to meet with us, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
That'd be extremely helpful. And in the meantime, I'll get you the estimates that I got from NYSEG to do the upgrades.
Yep. Okay.
Well, if I can interrupt, John, I don't think you know who I am. I work for Otsego Electric Cooperative. I met with the president, the CEO of ISO 2 weeks ago, Rich Dewey, and we also met with NIPA. And it obviously, because of all the huge economic development projects that are going on around like statewide right now, there isn't as much loose juice as they were talking about even a year ago. So if we have an idea, we should get it in the pipeline like you're suggesting, because I don't know where that supply is going to come from, especially with they've canceled the wind contracts down in Long Island, and unless they get nuclear generation going up in Lake Ontario, they're going to be very constrained.
Yeah, I agree with you. And my background, just so you know, is I worked with the Power Authority for 32 years, retired from there and formed this whole company. Did a lot of work with Bob Murdoch.
Oh, I remember you now. Yeah. Okay.
I don't see go.
Right. I remember your name. Yep.
Yeah. So.
We need to get rolling.
John is also a expert in solar energy projects.
My son is more the expert in solar, but yes. And I think we should, well, truth be known is that Hartwick just finished their solar. That all started in this room, that whole thing, the solar, and your predecessor had solar companies that went out to bid for sites, and Hartwick College wanted to grab onto that, and they did. And then we had a schedule for this, I think this committee, we had, a solar developer, starts with a B.
Out of Boston, wasn't it? Weren't they out of Boston?
Boston or Chicago, Boston. The guy was coming from Boston, but I think they're out of Chicago. But they canceled at the last minute. They come here, but the Hartwick College president at the time, Margaret, wanted to continue. So I continued to work for her in the college to get that up and running, which was a nice 8-9 years.
Anybody ever figure out why they canceled, or did we ever get an answer from them, or?
I'd have to go back.
That's,
and look.
doesn't matter, just.
I think that a lot of these guys don't look at it from the point of view of they look at it more, they want more sites. If they can find more sites than just the one in the area, they would do that. And I think that's what their corporate decided at the last minute. But, you know, it was worth the effort to do it. The Pony Farms was included in that, and so was Richfield Springs at the time. And it just fell through. And so, yeah. And him, and
We need a
What's that?
battery too.
Yeah.
Solar with a battery. Unfortunately, Trump administration doesn't like that right now.
Oh,
but they do like the gas line.
Yes, they do.
True, very true.
I mean,
speaking of, their programs, I told Cheryl I was gonna send her, I'll send it out, this morning after this meeting, the proposed, Trump administration budget, for 2026. If anybody else wants a copy, let us know. I sent it to, Megan and Michelle Caton, because it is quite an eye opener as to what to expect moving forward with the programs.
You're talking about specific to what we do, as opposed to the general budget itself?
It's actually 64 pages of what they're increasing and what they're decreasing throughout all of the programs. What's affecting us is they're proposing the elimination of the Economic Development Administration, EDA. They're proposing eliminating the Community Development Block Grant Program, and they're proposing to eliminate USDA Rural Development. Those are three big economic development projects, programs that we work with. Now, that's not to say that Congress won't refund those, but right now, that's the proposals.
Jody, can you just forward that to everybody?
Yeah.
Yes, I don't want to get everybody panicking. That's the only thing.
No,
Yes,
we're,
don't-
I mean, at the county level, we're dealing, I mean, there's a variety of cuts that will impact many county services. So, yeah,
Yeah,
we're, the IDA is not alone, clearly.
Just, one of the things that I've been looking at recently is, it looked like Head Start
yes.
was gonna be completely eliminated. As of 2 days ago, Head Start was returned to the budget. So,
So Job Corps is being eliminated too.
Job Corps. But the other thing that in March, $1 billion, Ag Department cut $1 billion of programs that were in effect. Unfortunately, those two programs were the Farm to School program, which a lot of schools in central New York take advantage of, including Edmonston, right? And it also cut the other part of that program was fresh produce, dairy, and meat from small local farms to food banks. So those are already gone, and my guess is they're not going to come back. And so that's really going to hit our area. It already is, actually. So.
So anyway, we plan on working closely with John on future projects. He's been really helpful, and he's expensive, but this year he didn't charge us anything for the Richfield Springs. He worked with us free of charge on that.
He wants to add to that you're well worth anything that we spend.
It'll be a discussion.
So we want to be in that if we get an expansion of rail yards, we can at least plug in what used to be a radio, and then it'll actually have electricity. Is that what we're looking at? Okay.
So Jody, just a follow-up, based on our conversation yesterday, I think this is an opportunity to put together a potential strategic plan regarding the rail yards in terms of reinvestment, and then, getting ahead of what these power needs would be and how we would go about that. So I think that is a good next step for that project.
So also really quickly, on the Oleana Business Park, we are working on, I'm supposed to get a package sent to me today, with all of the deeds on the lot line adjustment. I'm supposed to sign those and give them back to the attorney, and then we're hopefully gonna close on that by next week, with Mike Mano. And that'll resolve that. Mike Mano's also agreed to pick up 50% of the survey costs that we bore to do this. So we'll be getting a check from him. Regarding the archaeological work, they've been somewhat hindered by the weather. They can't really go out and do the dig in the rain. He's expecting that he will have it completed within the next week. As the weather permits, he's got a couple more holes to put in. And they're scheduling the week of the 19th to do the scraping of the entire site. Basically what that is that they take a backhoe and just scrape the entire archaeological site by about a foot, not very deep. Since it's been farmland, they don't expect to come up with anything, but that's part of their protocol. And he expects that after the 19th, the week of the 19th, he'll be in a position to say he can go to construction.
Which then would lead to the closing, correct?
Yes, either late May or early June.
Great.
And the owner of the purchaser is aware of what's going on. He's been kept informed, as to both attorneys have been talking to his attorney to keep them informed as the progress goes on. We have a buyer for the entire Oleana business. One of the things I discussed with Cheryl was I'm working with 3 companies, 3 new projects, and I don't want to review them with you and maybe get a suggestion whether I should put a couple of them on hold and really just work on one of these. One is called Eco Yodo, which is the couple out of New Jersey that are looking to build an AI data center. They're actually meeting down at the chamber tomorrow with NYSEG to discuss their project. Phase 1 is estimated to cost about $10 million and potentially 40 new jobs. It's primarily going to be powered by solar arrays. The problem with
Your reaction is exactly my reaction.
How are they gonna do that? They gotta have some base load.
I don't know. That's why I asked NYSEG to talk to them as well.
We're all in this together, Tim. I have to tell you, this is at Marie Lucian's property, correct?
Yes.
If you know where that is.
Yeah,
Yeah. Opposite the-
they
Yeah.
asked us if we could extend fiber out there, and it just sounded so sketchy that we are pursuing it.
I met the principal at the chamber dinner last week. Yeah. Interesting.
So they've already done a presentation to Empire State Development. Empire State Development would prefer companies to submit their request directly to them and not go through our office. Because they feel that if they go through our office, they have an unfair advantage of getting funding because we know the program so well, so they prefer the companies directly to contact them. Because most of the staff that they're gonna be hiring are gonna be college graduates, because they're engineers and researchers, they're probably not gonna qualify for community development funds. So this one, while we're involved in it, I don't see us having a lot of activity to do any grant writing with them.
Is this a place that has power accessibility for a data center? Outside of the solar arrays?
No.
Residential.
Wow.
And so just to be clear, I didn't tell Jody to drop projects, but the idea of prioritizing our resources, given that they're limited of these 3 new projects, and understanding how do we put stuff back in the requesters' hands, and then, you know, if they make further progress, right, whether it be NICEAG or not, then they can come to us, and then we can talk about our resource availability. So it wasn't not to do them, but it was being able to prioritize our resources on the projects where we could add the most benefit and have the most likelihood for success.
So the second project that I met with Brooks Bottling last week. And Ryan has started a new twist on this. He's calling it Kitchen Creative. And basically he's making sauces, glazes, marinades, and basically selling them to restaurants and high-end cooks, chefs and stuff. He's looking for financial assistance on this. The problem that I'm having with this project right now is that one of his key people who was involved in the previous grants that we did with him has left. And basically it's just Ryan who's there, and
It's just who?
Ryan Brooks.
Brian by himself?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm not sure I'm gonna get the information I need in a timely fashion to submit a community development block grant application. I think he's gonna have the time to assemble all the documents I need for that, because I need personal financials, I need business financials, and I'm just not sure that he's gonna get that to me right away. So while I understand that, and I did say I would put it on the list of things to look at working on, it's really dependent upon him to supply that information. And I'm not sure he's gonna be able to do that. The third project is, I have a meeting next week. Burt Boxes in Oneonta. A couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I met with them. They had probably 12 people. They were looking for some financial assistance. The problem with that Burt Box has been that they hired people and then 6 months later terminated them. They laid them off, and there was no consistency with them. Well, in 2022, they were purchased by a company called Postertia 1880, and it's an Italian company that does similar work all throughout Europe and Asia. They do incredible ornate gift boxes. Well, in 2002, after the acquisition, in 2023, they went up to 40 employees full-time. In 2025, they're expected to go up to 90 employees. And within the next couple of years, they want to go up to about 150 employees in Oneonta. I have a meeting with the regional director for Empire State Development to meet with them next Wednesday. And this project, because of the volume of jobs that they're talking about, I really see potential for a community development application with them. They probably won't have to supply personal financials because the company's investing the money themselves as a match. It's not being done by the owner. So it's just the company's financials that we need, which I'm sure they'll be able to supply. And I view that one as a more higher priority. The reason I'm raising this is that the next 2 months, 3 months, I'm kind of swamped between Richfield Springs and the Oneonta Business Park. I mean, hopefully within a month, the business park will be a done deal. But then that's going to start a whole nother issue with the owner on looking at pilot agreements and sales tax exemptions on a building project. We certainly want to be able to assist him in that. So I'm just throwing those out for any suggestions as to whether you see one as a higher priority than the other.
Jody, again, I think this is an opportunity for you to understand the pros and cons and what the priority is to you, and you come to us with your priority. I think trying to get 7 different opinions on priority is you know it better than we're gonna know it. You're gonna understand as you get financials, as you get more information, where the opportunity for success is. So again, don't want to shut down the floor if anyone has an opinion, but I think at the same time, you've really kind of stated those opinions in terms of the placement of your priority. So,
So right now, I think unless Ryan gives me a huge package of information next week, or unless I meet with this, box company next week and it turns out that I learn more information, I would say the box company is probably gonna be our priority right now. It's got the most employment potential, and long-term stability with a Italian company that's the owner.
I heard from someone that they were looking at building someplace else also. Have you heard that rumor? Or expanding someplace else?
They also, in addition to that company, they also bought Taylor Box in Rhode Island. So there's actually 2 locations.
Right.
And obviously, with the regional director from Empire State Development coming down, they want to keep as much of the employment in New York State as they can.
Any other new or unfinished business?
I just want to go back to something that you had in the projects. Ed May purchasing a strip of our lot down there.
Yes.
Do we have a price for that, and where do we stand with that?
I don't know if he's come back from Florida yet.
He's back and forth.
Okay.
It's wrong with the common council meeting.
He usually comes here. He hasn't been here.
We gave him a price based on the appraised value of the property. So we've asked them for that price as well as reimburse us for the survey work that we've done.
Survey is completed, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Okay,
That was sent to
so
him.
the ball's in his court.
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks. I don't have any other questions.
Somebody? Okay, we can close out of projects and we're all set.
All right, and Megan will send out.
I'll send out the budget, the federal budget for 20.
just make sure you frame it as it's obviously not yet approved, so we're not gonna do any
Yes.
impact analysis until that time.
Right,
All right, thanks.
thank you.
Thank you all.
Have a great day, guys.